What if the world's economy depended on a strip of water so narrow it could almost disappear on a map? A place so small, yet so powerful, that a single disruption could shake entire nations. Every day, massive ships loaded with oil pass through this critical route. These ships carry the fuel that powers cars, airplanes, factories, and entire economies. Without this flow, modern life slows down. Fuel prices surge, markets react, governments face pressure, panic spreads across industry, and the most remarkable fact, this route is not wide. It is not hidden, and there is no real replacement. This is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage connecting some of the richest oil-producing regions on Earth to the rest of the world. Nearly 20% of global oil passes through here. Because of its importance, the strait has become more than a trade route. It is a pressure point, a strategic weapon, and a place where power, politics, and global stability collide. The Strait of Hormuz lies between Iran and Oman. At first glance, it appears calm, just a stretch of water. But geography hides power. This narrow passage connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. At its narrowest, it's only 21 miles wide, and the shipping lanes are even tighter. Every vessel entering or leaving the Persian Gulf must pass through this restricted area. No shortcuts exist. Every day, billions of dollars of goods and energy flow through here. The strait forces global trade to converge in one tiny location. Where movement is restricted, influence grows. Where influence grows, tension builds, and that's exactly what makes the Strait of Hormuz so critical, not just for trade, but for global power. Every day, the Strait of Hormuz handles nearly 20 million barrels of oil, about 1/5 of the world's daily consumption. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Kuwait rely heavily on this passage. Without it, their oil cannot reach international markets. When oil stops flowing, industry slows, transportation struggles, and prices rise globally. Every delay in this corridor has ripple effects across the world. The strait also affects gas and natural resources, making it a vital artery for energy-dependent nations. It demonstrates how a single location can hold global economies hostage. Hormuz is not just a waterway, it is a lifeline. Its security, accessibility, and stability affect millions of lives. Global powers recognize this and constantly monitor the strait, knowing that any disruption could trigger widespread chaos. The strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz has made it a hotspot for conflict. During the Iran-Iraq War, the region witnessed direct attacks on shipping vessels. Mines were laid in the waters, and tankers were targeted. This period, known as the Tanker War, revealed the vulnerability of global supply chains. Since then, the area has remained under constant surveillance. Naval forces from multiple countries patrol these waters, watching for potential threats. Even minor disruptions here can have global implications. Military presence is necessary to ensure safe passage, but the underlying tension never disappears. The strait has become more than a trade route. It is a strategic leverage point. Control, influence, and stability converge here, and nations know that the balance of power can shift with a single action in these waters. Every day, enormous oil tankers navigate the Strait of Hormuz. Some of these ships are hundreds of meters long, carrying vital energy resources. They move slowly through narrow lanes, leaving almost no room for error. A single accident, a collision, grounding, or mechanical failure can disrupt the entire flow. Shipping congestion can create delays, which in turn affect global supply chains. Even minor stoppages can send energy prices soaring and force countries to scramble for alternatives. The strait's physical dimensions turn it into a natural bottleneck. While it may seem calm on the surface, its capacity limits and heavy traffic make it one of the most delicate points on Earth. Hormuz exemplifies how geography and economics intersect. Its narrow channel controls not just regional trade, but global energy security. The influence of the Strait of Hormuz extends far beyond the Middle East. Major importers like United States and China are directly affected by its stability. Even countries that don't import directly feel the impact because energy prices ripple globally. When oil flow slows, transportation costs rise, industries are affected, markets fluctuate, Hormuz connects the energy-producing nations to energy-consuming nations, linking them in a fragile balance. Its importance is not about size. It is about control. The world relies on this single passage for stability, and even minor disturbances can create widespread economic consequences. Imagine a scenario where the Strait of Hormuz is suddenly closed. Within hours, global markets would react. Energy prices would spike. Panic would ripple through industries. Within days, countries would scramble to secure alternative supplies. Within weeks, the effects would reach every corner of the globe. Transportation, manufacturing, and even everyday life would feel the consequences. This illustrates the peril of dependence on a single passage. Despite modern technologies, the global economy remains vulnerable to disruption at critical points. Hormuz demonstrates how a narrow geographic location can influence the entire world. Its control is essential, not just for regional powers, but for the stability of the global system. Control over the Strait of Hormuz is complex. No single country owns it, yet Iran's position along the northern coast gives it significant leverage. Over time, statements and threats of closure have created global concern. Even the possibility of disruption affects markets and energy prices. This narrow waterway has become a balance point of power. Influence here is silent but potent, shaping strategic decisions worldwide. Naval presence, surveillance, and diplomacy all revolve around maintaining access and preventing escalation. Hormuz is more than geography. It is leverage, a tool that controls global energy dynamics. The Strait of Hormuz is constantly patrolled. The United States Navy maintains vigilance alongside other nations, ensuring safe passage for commercial traffic. Military patrols create a delicate balance. Peace is maintained, yet tension never disappears. The Strait's security is a high-stakes game. Any misstep can have global consequences. Ships continue to pass daily, but behind the scenes, forces stand ready. Stability here is critical. Hormuz is not just a sea lane, it is a geopolitical flashpoint that demonstrates how geography can shape world affairs. Global energy is slowly shifting to renewables, solar, wind, and alternative fuels. However, oil continues to dominate transportation and industrial sectors. As long as fossil fuels remain central, the Strait of Hormuz will retain its critical importance. Even with progress in renewable technologies, pipelines, and alternative routes, Hormuz's role as a gateway for energy supplies cannot be replaced overnight. The world remains reliant on this narrow channel for stability and economic flow. It is a strategic lifeline for nations dependent on consistent oil deliveries. Hormuz proves that energy security is still tied to geography, and the narrow waters between Iran and Oman continue to influence global markets every day. Countries have attempted to reduce dependence on Hormuz through pipelines and alternative routes. Land-based pipelines transport oil without passing through the strait. Alternative shipping routes exist, yet these options are limited. They cannot match the enormous capacity of Hormuz. Building pipelines and infrastructure requires immense investment and time. Maintenance is costly. Despite technological and logistical efforts, the Strait of Hormuz remains irreplaceable. Its narrow waters control 1/5 of the world's oil supply daily. No alternative can fully replicate its efficiency or scale. Thus, the strait remains a vital artery for global energy, essential to commerce, industry, and geopolitical stability. Hormuz demonstrates the interconnectedness of the modern world. A disruption in one small location can affect global markets. Energy prices spike. Transportation delays multiply, and millions of people feel the ripple effects. The strait shows that a single choke point can influence not only regional politics, but also international trade and energy security. The balance of supply and demand is fragile, and the world watches closely. Hormuz is more than water. It is a linchpin linking producers, consumers, and economies worldwide. Its influence extends beyond geography, shaping policies, naval strategies, and global diplomacy. As the world continues to depend on energy, the Strait of Hormuz remains an essential artery of global commerce. Even with alternative pipelines and routes being built, the strait's capacity is unmatched. It carries oil, gas, and goods that fuel nations, industries, and daily life. Every day, Naval patrols monitor this narrow stretch of water, ensuring that trade flows smoothly and that tensions do not escalate into conflict. But the strait's power is silent. It rarely makes headlines, yet it has the potential to influence markets, politics, and international relations instantly. Countries around the world watch closely because a single disruption can ripple across continents, affecting millions of people. Hormuz demonstrates that in a globalized world, a small geographic location can hold massive influence. It is not just water. It is leverage, stability, and control, all rolled into one narrow passage. The Strait of Hormuz is also a test of diplomacy. Iran, situated along the northern coast, often finds itself at the center of global attention. Its geographic position gives it the ability to influence shipping, trade, and energy flow. Over the years, statements or threats about restricting passage have triggered worldwide concern. Other global powers, including the United States, monitor the strait constantly. Naval forces maintain a delicate balance, deterring any escalation while ensuring trade continues. Hormuz is where strategy meets geography. Control here is about more than military might. It is about economic influence, energy security, and global leverage. The strait reminds the world how interconnected energy, commerce, and politics are. What happens in these narrow waters can impact stock markets, energy prices, and diplomacy across continents. Even in quiet times, the Strait of Hormuz commands attention, shaping decisions far beyond its shores. In conclusion, the Strait of Hormuz is more than a geographic location. It is a symbol of global dependence, risk, and power. Modern civilization relies on energy, trade, and stability, all of which pass through this narrow waterway. Any disruption, even temporary, can have immediate consequences worldwide. The strait connects producers and consumers, linking nations through commerce, energy, and diplomacy. Naval patrols, pipelines, and alternative routes all highlight its strategic significance. Hormuz is quiet, narrow, and often overlooked, yet its influence is unmatched. It shapes markets, policies, and geopolitical decisions. As long as the world continues to rely on fossil fuels and energy trade, the Strait of Hormuz will remain one of the most critical locations on Earth. It is a reminder that sometimes the smallest places hold the greatest power, a single strip of water capable of influencing the entire globe.